You are Locked On Syracuse, your daily podcast on the Syracuse Orange. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
The 2025 NFL Draft has come and gone, and it was a very successful weekend for Syracuse football. And we're going to break it all down right now. And before we break it all down, I want to hear from you. What did you make of Syracuse's draft performance this weekend? Comment in the comment section below. Now let's do it. 4 players for Syracuse were drafted, and that is the most for the Orange since 2006. So almost 20 years since Syracuse had 4 or more players drafted. Who were they? Well, we had a poll Friday a couple of weeks ago. Who do you think is going to be the first Syracuse player drafted? Most of you, including myself, believed that it was going to be Kyle McCord. It was not Kyle McCord. It was actually who most of us believe was going to finish second in Oronde Gadsden. He was a 5th-round pick, 165th overall to the LA Chargers, followed by Kyle McCord in the 6th round at 181 overall to the Philadelphia Eagles. And then you had a pair of 7th-round picks. LaQuint Allen goes 236 overall to the Jacksonville Jaguars, and you got Fadil Diggs 238 overall to the New Orleans Saints. Now, I know that you all, including myself, we're all Syracuse fans for the most part, unless you're just some troll from another college team. Maybe you're a UConn fan or a Georgetown fan that stumbled upon this podcast and you're somehow watching this one, even though it really doesn't relate to you all at all. But for the most part, we're Syracuse fans. That's what we share in common. And I think we would all have loved if all those players went higher and we saw more players get drafted. And I was a little bit surprised that it took until the 5th round to finally see a Syracuse player come off the board. But I'm still happy that 4 players were ultimately selected. Again, it's the most Syracuse players drafted since 2006. That is a big deal. Also, I just want to get this out in the open. There is no grand conspiracy by the NFL against Syracuse players. Can we just not have that narrative? The NFL doesn't care what team a player is coming from. The Seattle Seahawks took a player at 18th overall that's coming from North Dakota State. All right, they really don't care as long as they believe a player can help them win more games. But here's the deal, folks. Even though we would have all loved to see Kyle McCord go above Tyler Shuck or go above Jalen Milroe or Shedeur Sanders or any of these other quarterbacks, right? Or even Cam Ward, who went 1st overall at Tennessee Titans. 4 players drafted. That actually finished tied for 18th among players selected by a single school in the 2025 NFL draft cycle. That's right, folks. Top 20. They had the same amount of players drafted as a school like Tennessee. They had more players drafted in this cycle than a school like Auburn. So, folks, even though we would have loved to see them go in round 1 or round 2 or round 3, and we can all try to make the argument of why they should have gone higher, they still went in the draft. That's 4 players selected. That is a big deal. On top of that, Syracuse sent 6 more players to the league who were undrafted free agents who have already signed NFL contracts. You got Jackson Meeks with the Detroit Lions, Justin Barron with the Dallas Cowboys, Savion Washington with the LA Chargers, Elijah Clark with the Dallas Cowboys, Clarence Lewis with the Tennessee Titans, and Marlowe Wax with the LA Chargers. So in total this draft weekend, Syracuse football had 4 players that were drafted. That was top 20 in the nation, most since 2006 for Syracuse. And they also had 6 more players that signed undrafted free agent deals, meaning they will get a chance to earn a roster spot for the most part in an NFL training camp this offseason, meaning their NFL dream is not over. They will have a chance to compete for a job in training camp. So in total, Syracuse football sent 10 players to the National Football League in this NFL draft cycle. That's a lot. That is a really good number. And that's also phenomenal, not just necessarily for school pride, because it's really cool when we get to see Syracuse players in the National Football League, right? Like Sean Tucker having a 100-yard game earlier this season, or I'm blanking on the name, but you get the idea. Andre Sisto making plays for the Jaguars before signing a free agent deal, actually, with my favorite team, the New York Jets. We love seeing Syracuse players in the NFL. But what's really phenomenal is not really just the school pride part. It's mostly for recruiting. It shows that Syracuse football can be a pipeline to the National Football League. Again, we are in the NIL era, and money certainly matters, but players also think long-term, and they also have dreams of going to the National Football League. They want to go to programs that are going to send them to the NFL. Why do you think year in and year out, Ohio State and Alabama and Georgia always seem to get the best players? It's not just that they have a boatload of NIL money. It's also because they're sending players to the National Football League every year. Ohio State sent 14 players to the league that were all drafted. And while it's going to take a while until Syracuse could get to that level, in fact, they may never get to that level, sending 14 players drafted in one draft class, getting 4 guys drafted, 6 more to sign undrafted free agent deals, shows that the Orange can build a pipeline towards the NFL, which therefore will help recruiting down the road. Now, what do you think of Syracuse's draft weekend? After everything that I just told you all, did that change your opinion? Were you disappointed and now you're feeling better? Were you feeling better and now all of a sudden, for some reason, you're feeling worse? Which I would find hard to believe. But hey, I want to hear from you in the comments section below. Overall, it was a really good weekend for Syracuse in the NFL draft. The only thing that would have made it better is if we saw the players go a little bit higher in the NFL draft. If we saw Kyle McCord go round 3 and Gadsden maybe early in round 4 and LaQuint Allen and Fadil Diggs in round 5, that would have made it better. But they still got 4 guys drafted, which was top 20 in the country.